Well, Emmy season is in full swing, and one of the most talked about broadcasts of this TV season has been Rent Live. I'm Sam Eckmann with Gold Derby, and I'm sitting here with the woman who brought us over the moon playing Maureen in Rent. It's Vanessa Hudgens. Thanks so much for talking with me today.
Of course.
And I mentioned you played Maureen in this production, but it's not your first experience with Rent. You actually played Mimi back in 2010 in the Hollywood Bowl, directed by Neil Patrick Harris. So what made you want to return to this show in a new character?
When I did Rent at the Hollywood Bowl, it was kind of my first time getting acquainted with the musical. I had never seen it beforehand. I'd kind of heard some of the songs, but I never really dug in and fell in love with the music. So when I did it with Neil Patrick Harris, I became obsessed. My sister and I would sing the songs with each other all the time. And I just fell in love with the kind of community and family that Rent does. It brings people together, and there's like this community where you bond together over this really magical and special musical. So I fell in love with the show, and being that it was a summer production at the Bowl, we only did it, I think, 3 or 4 times. I remember just finally starting to figure out my footsteps, and then they're like, okay, that's the last show. And I'm like, no, I want to keep doing it. So I felt like I still had more love that I wanted to indulge in when it came to Rent. And when I found out that they were doing it as a live televised broadcast, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so incredible. And originally I was like, I need to be Mimi. Gotta be Mimi. I've done it once before. I know all the songs. I can do it again. And then Mark Platt called my manager, and he was like, we're really interested in her playing the part of Maureen. And I was like, that's not what I expected, but that's really interesting, because when I did it at the Bowl, Nicole Scherzinger played Maureen, and she was a force to be reckoned with. I remember watching her do Over the Moon and being like, this is like a masterpiece, and it scared the shit out of me. I was like, that takes so much balls and so much courage to be able to stand on that stage and do that number, that one day when I feel confident enough, I need to do that part. So I was like, well, the day has arrived, and I get to embark on the journey with Michael Greif, who's incredible. So I knew that I would feel supported and had an amazing cast to do it with.
And, you know, the show has a huge legacy. In addition to Nicole Scherzinger, there's, I mean, just dozens of Broadway actresses who have put their stamp on this. You know, it's associated with Idina Menzel, who originated it. And that original cast actually came to your live taping and had a moment with you there. Is that intimidating when the original people are there, or is it fun to share it with them?
It was fun to share it with them. It was kind of like when you're a kid and you have a dance recital and your parents come. It's like, look, Mom, look what I can do. That's how I felt, at least.
And when you're creating a character, do you look back at those old recordings, or
I have
what's your relationship with that?
In the past, but I felt like Maureen lived within me in such a special way that I kind of wanted to build on who I was within her, rather than like taking different people's interpretations of the character, to really be able to just give myself the creative freedom to make her my own.
Well, one of the numbers you brought up, Over the Moon, there's such anticipation for Maureen's reveal in the show. It's like, she's coming, she's coming. And Over the Moon, because she's this crazy performance artist, it allows for a lot of interpretation as a performer. How did you go about making that your own, that specific number?
Well, for me, I was like, I need to figure out what I'm actually saying here. I need to understand the words and understand the story so that I can actually tell a story, because it is a very large, wide, kind of blurry concept that if you don't actually ask yourself what you're saying, it really just gets lost in the shuffle. So for me, I like went through each line and I was like, okay, what am I actually saying in this moment? What is it that I'm trying to convey to the audience? And then just fully commit to whatever that is, and to just stay as present as possible. I mean, I grew up performing. I'm such a performer. I love being on the stage. I have ever since I was like 3 years old. So I knew that once the number would begin, I would be fine. But man, those moments leading up to even just rehearsing the number, my palms would get sweaty. I'd be like, oh my God, in an hour, we're going to start rehearsing this number. And it was terrifying. It definitely scared the shit out of me.
Her other big song in it, which has become iconic, performed by countless people, is Take Me or Leave Me.
Yeah.
What was it like to tackle that with Kiersey Clemons?
It was amazing. I mean, it's a challenging song. Like, it is right up there. You gotta like find that mix and really take big breaths and support it, because if you're not, you are not gonna hit those notes. And I remember first practicing the song, and I would sing it like 3 times, and the 4th time I would try to sing it again, my voice would start cracking, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so scary, because I'm like, with the live broadcast, like if I mess up, there's no second take. So it was just like really just pounding it into the pavement, making sure my placement was right. And then with Kiersey, just like finding the timing of the song. It's such a interestingly syncopated song, so making sure that everything was landing where it was meant to be was challenging. Like, I would literally walk around the room singing the song to the beat. But she was amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better Joanne. She was just up to practice all the time. We would literally be standing around doing nothing, and I'm like, Kiersey. And we would like mark out our numbers, and she was just always there to be supportive and to figure and work things out.
One thing I was very curious about, the set for this was immense. It has so many playing spaces. You lower in from the ceiling for Over the Moon. Was it ever kind of daunting to actually just like learn your blocking and navigate the set? What was that like?
Well, yeah, Brendan broke his foot, so. No, but I remember walking into the stage the very first time and being like, I literally feel like I'm in the Lower East Side in the 90s. It had such an authentic New York gritty vibe about it that just made it feel all the more real. I'm personally afraid of heights, so whenever they wanted me to be up high, I was like, are you sure you want me to be there? Are you sure you really want me to fly? I mean, it's a great idea, but like, are we sure? But you know, it's like that tech week thing where you really just take a lot of time figuring out where you're meant to be and where the lights are meant to be. That just is part of the theater process that I love so much, but then allows you to have stability in where you're meant to be.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk about with Brennan Hunt, who played your Roger and broke his foot during rehearsals. And then it's kind of like the day of, and you have to find out that we're going to do this using a lot of it being the dress rehearsal footage from the night before. What is the atmosphere like when you're discovering that?
I remember Mark Platt had everyone sit down around the bleachers and the Over the Moon stage. And I was like, oh man, what's going to happen? But everyone's still excited because it's the day of the show. And he got up on a mic and was like, last night's performance felt like lightning in a bottle. It was magical. People were saying, I don't know how we're going to be able to do this better. He was just so proud of everything that we had done. But because Brennan had broken his foot, they were going to have to air a lot of the night before his performance. And it was really interesting because I had originally thought, I'll just do my stuff live, like the stuff that he's not in, we'll just do live. But I guess it's too complicated with the broadcasting. And after he said that, I remember looking around at everyone being like, so we're not going to do it again. Okay, it literally makes me emotional just thinking about it, because you work so hard for that final moment where you're like, this is it. Hello world, take it or leave it. This is everything I've got. And I was definitely bummed. And then I went outside and someone hugged me who I worked with on Grease, and then I just started bawling and I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, I don't understand. But it was because I was like, I'm not going to be able to have this experience again and connect with these people in these moments. But we did end up doing like a concert version that was so gung-ho. It was literally like the spirit of Rent, where it's like, let's just do it. And felt like the entire thing was a performance piece. And we did get to have those moments where we connected with each other and we're like, this is the last time we're singing these songs to each other. But also the crazy thing is like, Jonathan Larson passed away like right at the first preview, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So like he didn't even get to see it fully come into fruition. So I'm like, obviously it's way lesser scale, but like, it's just really interesting the parallel of like not fully being able to see it go exactly where you want it to. But it's a good lesson to like let go and to always give it your all.
It's sort of the classic Broadwayism, the show must go on no matter what.
Literally.
And I want to talk about those concert kind of performances. I'm really glad they made their way online because they are special. And I think one of the things that kind of Rent heads and Rent fans would say the show represents is family. And you all really seemed like a very strong family. And I'm curious to know, how did you kind of create that strong sense of ensemble with the cast?
I mean, when you're spending how many hours a day? 8+ hours a day together every day for months, you can't help but grow close to people. And I think they did a really amazing job at picking people who are passionate about their project. So you already share a common ground. But I don't know, everyone was just extremely talented, but be so willing to explore and to play and to discover things together. And I think when you're doing that, a certain magic happens. Like that's the art of performance, you know, like that's that rehearsal time where you really create magical moments with each other. And through that, you become a family.
Absolutely. And you have obviously a very strong background in musical theater. We know you from a High School Musical series. You made your Broadway debut in Gigi in that revival, but you also have done a live broadcast before with Grease Live, playing Rizzo. And was there any sort of lesson you learned from that you took to Rent?
To just enjoy the process, because it happens so quickly in the beginning. You think, oh, we have so much time and it's easy to be distracted. But with Grease, it was like, it was done in the blink of an eye. And that's how it happens. You think you have so much time and you're like, I'll be able to enjoy this when, and then before you know it, it's like the day before the broadcast and you're like, oh my gosh, wait, how are we already here? And then you start having separation anxiety, at least I do. But it was just to enjoy the process, to truly like soak in every moment, because it's such a quick whirlwind of a process.
Yeah, how do you say goodbye to something that you spent so much time working on and then it's one night and over?
I think the character, like I remember being like, thanks, Riz, it's been real. And like walking away, taking off the jacket and like letting that rest in peace. And the same thing happened with Maureen. Like I had so much fun playing this character. And at the very end, it was like, okay, thanks. It's been real. I say goodbye to them like the real people sitting in front of me.
And this show, you know, it means a lot to a great deal of people. For you, why do you think it was important to tell the story again at this specific time?
I mean, I'm always in constant shock at the state of the world in 2019. You'd think that things would come a long way from the archaic times, and yet things are popping up where it's like, how how is this the world that we're living in? How do humans still not see each other as other humans? It's bewildering and it's devastating. And Rent has always been the story where it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your sexual preference or your gender or your race or your economic background. They're artists who come together in a time of need and create a community. And I think that is important until the end of time.
Agreed. And as I wrap up here, I just want to pick your brain about dream roles, because you've done so many in musical theater. Are there any roles, whether it's a live broadcast or on Broadway, that you haven't done yet that you want to tackle?
Well, one of my favorite movies is Moulin Rouge. And I love Satine so much. That's always been a dream of mine. And I know that they're doing it with Aaron Tveit as well, who I worked with in Rent many moons ago. So someday I want to try to like finagle my way into that show.
Well, I think that'll be a big Broadway hit, so it'll be there for you to step in.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just like step in at some point. And me and my girlfriend Sarah Hyland were actually talking the other day. We're like, we should just do Chicago. It's been done for so long, but like it's such a classic. I was like, I need to have a Fosse moment.
That'd be awesome.
I would love it very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Best of luck in Emmy season. I can't wait to see what other musicals you step into next. And everyone stay subscribed to Gold Derby for all your updates on Emmy season. Thank you again, Vanessa.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.